Good evening. It is 5 p.m. I am Rob Watton, and welcome to today's Public Safety Committee and Committee of the Whole. Um, and I am calling this meeting to order. My apologies as my computer decided to reboot while I was settling in. Um, First, we'll start off with the roll call. We have present Councilmember Cotton, Councilmember Christensen, City Clerk Dean, Mayor Ross, City Administrator Chambliss, and City Attorney Burke, and as well as the two chiefs, the fire department and the police department, Mike Bailey and Gary Horaci. So good evening. Um, Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. And I want to preface that tonight because I'm so glad to see people here. I presume you came for a good reason. And hopefully it's for public safety, which I presume is the reason why you're here. Uh, Normally we are lightly attended, so we are ecstatic to have so many people here caring about what we do to help keep our community safe. This meeting typically lasts until 5:50, but I want to assure everyone here, if you came here for public testimony, that's our number one priority. And the other things that we have on our agenda is something that we will get to as we can, but we will have a hard stop tonight at 5:50 to be respectful of those of you who are here. You can hear the whole thing that happens every other week in public safety. One other thing too is that this is the opportunity, the committee helps to set policy and makes recommendation to the council. But we're not the ones thinking all the grandiose things of how we can do things differently necessarily until we hear from you, those who are residents and community members. So thank you very much for being here. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask for the council members' approval of today's agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded by council members Cotton and Christensen. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will accept the agenda as presented. And we'll move on to the next part, and that's the fun part that many of you are here, I'm sure, and I hope. And by the way, we are a very welcoming group, so please don't be shy. I do want to just go through a couple things, and that is we will take public comments of 3 minutes. Please address us as a committee of the whole rather than individuals. And we will give you all the attention and utmost concern from this group. And with that, anything else? So here's what we'll ask. When you're ready, and again, don't be shy, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, and then share with us what's on your mind about public safety. And I have a suspicion that some of you might be here because you have a concern about e-bikes, e-scooters, anything, maybe electric vehicles too. So those are kind of the topics of the day, or anything else that concerns you about public safety. So with that, I open the floor for public comment. Would anybody like to come forward? Thank you. I like your boldness.
My name's David Fleming, and my address is 7421 Warren Avenue Southeast, Unit A, Snoqualmie 98065. And so I live in the Side Meadows townhomes, as I think everybody else does here too. Oh no, close though. been there for 23 years. And, you know, my wife's not able to be here tonight. She's attending another meeting over at Sigillo tonight, the Encompass meeting. But two things I wanted to just express. One, of course, is a concern about the e-motorcycles, the e-scooters, and just how dangerous they are and how close they've come to hurting people, me included. And I think just about everybody that's here may have had an experience with them going too fast on the sidewalk, not slowing down. And these are typically kids that are underage, I think. I mean, just by looking at them, don't stop to them and talk to them or anything. But that's one concern. And then the other thing I wanted to do was thank you all and the police department for listening to us. Because just in the last couple of days, I have called the police twice, once on the SVT going just south of the golf course, and another time last night from our public common area, looking out into the soccer field, watching, you know, these kids do wheelies and stuff like this in the parking lot, dangerous, you know, splash pads open, little kids all around, and they're being pretty wild. And I mean, we've seen them fly through the soccer field, up the hill, down the hill, on the streets, on the sidewalks, in the parking lots. I don't think this is news to you all, but the police responded very amazingly quickly on the SVT when I called, and also last night. And last night in particular, there were two police officers that responded after I called within minutes, and I saw them direct. I got to assume it's the kid's parent, load the e-motorcycle into the back of his car and leave. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for listening to us, and thank you for, you know, making this a priority, because it is important and dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Who's next? Thank you.
I feel like I'm in Parks and Rec right now. Anyway, the TV show. My name's Julie Steele, no E on the end. 35220A Southeast Sequoia Place. And my unit is on the corner of Sequoia and Warren. And I have two things. One is we have no stop sign there, and we have cars come flying up Warren, going down Sequoia as a cut through to other neighborhoods, and they fly through. And if a car is coming the other direction, everybody's slamming on their brakes. And I have requested before, why can't we get at least a speed bump on the street to slow them down? Maybe it wouldn't be as appealing to them if they had to stop before flying through there, and I've gotten nowhere. So that's a huge issue. And I've, you know, take their license plate number. Well, if I'm on my front porch, they're going so fast, I can't get their license plate number. So that's a really unsafe corner. The other thing is with the e-bikes, a couple days ago, I was walking on Ridge, and no more than a 12-year-old was in the street, came zooming up Fairway, going south, and flew through the stop sign, went around a car, was going faster than the car, and didn't look around at all. And it's like, I don't understand why they're not scared for their own safety. It's very strange, but let alone, like David said, they're near knocking people down as they're going, and they don't care. So those are the two issues. That street with a stop sign or some speed bumps or something would be great on Sequoia Place, and what everybody else is here for, the e-bikes and things. And then one quick last thing too is the pond is really an issue in the summer. We've got kids up there just doing all kinds of stuff they shouldn't be, and I wish there were cameras up there or something, because it does get, I'm sure you all have experienced that, gets a little crazy. They're out at 2 in the morning and they're just doing all kinds of stuff. And anyway, the pond's behind me.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Deal. I've failed to mention a couple things. First of all, tonight, as every night, we record through Zoom or through YouTube. It's on our YouTube channel for your listening pleasure if you want to go back and see previous episodes of public safety or your city council meetings. And the other thing is that the chair reserves the discretion of pulling folks aside to make sure that if you have a concern that needs to be addressed, we have police chief and the director of public works here, and they've been coordinating on activities to help address some of these things. And before you leave, Ms. Steele, if you wouldn't mind just sharing to make sure that they have that information that you shared with us. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Third up.
My name is Henry Castle. My wife and I live at 7429 Warren Avenue Southeast, Unit A, in the Side Meadows complex. I've just got a pet peeve. I reiterate everything that everybody said about the electric bikes and stuff like that. I walk my dog multiple times a day, but in the evening after dark, I'm out walking around the block, down Ridge into the corner of Fairway and Ridge. And a pet peeve is the streetlights. The street light at the corner of Fairway and Ridge is a directional light. It has a bright side and a less bright side. And the bright side is supposed to be on the street, and that one street light is reversed. So the bright light is on the grass area. And unfortunately, that's the one right at the intersection. So the crosswalk at night is very dark. And when these kids come zooming by in their electric bikes and scooters, it's a danger. So hopefully, I've called once and got kind of laughed at that it was even a problem, but it is a problem, and somebody needs to just reverse the light. It's just moving the light bulb around. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Castle, thank you for sharing. We have Mr. Hamlin in the room, so he coordinates public works, and I'm sure that he'll be on top of it. And it sounds like a good resolution of being able to switch that around. All right, we got time for more. We have plenty of time. Please don't be intimidated. We're a very friendly group.
I'm Ellen Clark, 35313 Southeast O'Neill Street, Unit B, on the Ridge in Side Meadows. And I agree with everything that's been said about the e-bikes, etc. We also have a golf cart that's running around the pond area on the roads pretty continually. We have a walking community, and we're finding that the people who are walking are stepping aside on our lawns to let all the electric bikes by and scooters. Doesn't seem right. On O'Neill, it's like a freeway for dogs, kids, bikes, etc. On another note, the city they blew in grass, and they planted new trees. Thank you very much. The trees are beautiful. They're growing nicely. Where they blew in the grass, it's more like weeds. And some of us maintain the lawns, but there's some of the homes do not maintain the strips where the trees are. And so we get the weeds blow into our yards. So those who maintain are fighting weeds.
All right.
Clover, etc. So I don't know if the city can do anything about having the homes maintain the strips where the trees are or not. I don't know what the rule is.
It's a good question. It's either the city or it's the HOA. So I think it would be the HOA that.
Well, the ROA said, no, it's not their
Okay.
responsibility.
would you mind checking in with Mr. Hamlin? Because I think he can help clarify and help figure out how we can get it resolved, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Thank you
nice.
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And he's at the back table there, taking notes ferociously. It's the only one not in a uniform. Anyone else, please?
Virginia Knight. I'm at 9329 Hebner Avenue Southeast, where the Astor Creek area is. And last year and previous years, I used to walk around the Astor Creek area and then come out to Brinkley, which I'm on the corner of Hebner and Brinkley, and turn down towards the little park that's there. You just put a new little fence on. It's on the right-hand side. I don't know what you call that. And then I'd go up and around some townhouses or condos and come back to my area. I can't do that anymore because the sidewalks are so bad by the trees that you trip and fall. And I've already done it once. I'm not going to do it again. And I mean, some of them are really high. Some of them have been patched. I don't know by whom, whether it's the city or the neighbors, but they are bad. And those trees are just moving those sidewalks right up. And so I have to pick and choose where I walk because of the sidewalks.
Okay, thank you. Again, Mr. Hamlin is taking notes. So make sure that you let him know exactly where, because they can come out, the city can come out and grind those down and kind of help level them out if it's not in the replacement section, because they keep a track of, we give them so much money that they can use to replace sidewalks every year. So there's kind of a schedule, but in the meantime, there's other ways that we can help mitigate, because we certainly don't want it to be a tripping hazard. Okay. They may be further along in the list. Okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else? We've got plenty of time. We've reserved the afternoon for you. Please.
I'm Jacqueline Pfeiffer. I live at 7429 Unit C, Warren Avenue Southeast in the Side Meadows Townhomes. And I'm very, very thankful for the interest that the police and you have shown, that it's not like, oh, these people, they have nothing else to do but complain about kids. I mean, I've worked with kids for 46 years, so I can handle them. And some of these kids are out of hand, totally. And I'm so happy that the police are responding. We had one incident by Starbucks where a child was doing all kinds of wheelies and whatnot. And I spoke to him and he got really nasty. And then we called the police, and the police officer came, and he was very good. He, chased the kids first and then talked to them. And then this one little guy who really wasn't involved in the misbehaving came up to the police officer and says, "How am I supposed to get home?" The police officer said, "Well, you can't ride your bike, so walk it." And the policeman was showing him to hold and walk it. He said, the kid was like shocked. And I thought, they're really responding with respect, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Pfeiffer. Anyone else? This is awesome. We love having this input. It's better here than on Facebook, because I have to track the posts down. It's like, oh my gosh.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Fedek, and I live at 7301 Curtis Drive Southeast. Been there since the inception of Snoqualmie Ridge. Maybe I'm just looking for a little bit of clarification. I'm a little confused with about the rules and regulations for e-bikes and e-scooters, and what is acceptable, what is not. Now, I remember, in the olden days, you used to have what they called bike rodeos. Now, this was before e-bikes and before e-scooters, but you had children who were learning to ride a bike. They were taught the rules of the road and respecting, other people, walkers, baby carriages, older people. And I have seen children 8 and 9 years old on these motorized vehicles. And I can guarantee you that they have no education in the manner of riding a motorized vehicle. There are rules of the road and they have, no discretion. They ride on the road, on the sidewalk, on the hills, on the grass. And so I don't know if Snoqualmie or the state of Washington or King County has any regulations that can be enforced, or better yet, taught to these children. If in fact there was a program that if you own an e-bike or an e-scooter, you need to go to an organized educational program to teach you, that when you're riding down the road, you stay on the right. And not this and that in between cars, because I honestly don't think a lot of these children have ever been exposed to a driving situation, and it's more just kind of freewheeling type of thing. It's dangerous. I see them without helmets. I see them barefoot. I see them, big gangs of them, kind of a little bit disrespectful when you ask them to slow down. So it might be something to consider, an education, or helping them to realize just how dangerous a situation can be. Now, being, older, as we all are, it is my biggest fear that I may hit one of these children on a motorized vehicle. And it scares me to death because, they come out of nowhere and they are unaware of when you approach, an intersection, that you are to stop rather than just sweep across. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you, Ms. Finnick. All right. Anyone else? We still have time. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm Chris Swedland. I live at 35214 Southeast Ridge, Unit A. We're right next to the soccer field, right on Ridge. And we frequently sit out on our balcony, so forth. I have noticed the police presence has increased, which I do appreciate, because once it starts to get dusk is when they all seem to come out on their bikes and their scooters and do their wheelies. And trust me, I've lived through that with children and realize it is very dangerous, but I don't like that they're out in the middle of the street, especially the older kids on their big bikes and then the younger ones on their scooters doing wheelies and doing donuts in the street and so forth. Some do not have helmets, which really, really concerns me, as my husband did have a horrible bicycle accident and his helmet saved his life. And I encourage that not only with my grandchildren, but with other children. And another thing is, as I'm walking in the evening, you can't hear them coming up behind you. And that's pretty scary. But I must say, the other night, I was walking and 2 girls on their scooters came up behind me and they were very courteous. They said, "On your left." And I thanked them and they said, "Thanks, just watch out." And I said, "Okay, thanks for passing." So that was very nice. So we are very concerned. Being right there on Ridge, I just don't want to see something horrible happen.
Sure.
And we try to take a picture and so forth, but it's so fast. But anyway, we do thank the police for increasing their presence right there on Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whelan. Anyone else? Do we get everybody in the room? Don't be shy. Go. Okay, now I get to put on my auctioneer. Going once. Going twice. Well, if you have additional comments, please send those to Clark Dean or myself, and we will make sure that those get passed on to the other members We do.
And I regularly bike and walk and, take my kids out. Yeah. And I've seen it and I've called the police personally and I've seen how quickly they respond and how fantastic they are. It's just, they can't be everywhere at once and see everything at once. So it's a bit of playing.
And if they
Whack-a-mole.
don't know,
Yeah.
if they don't know, if you folks don't call,
Yeah. So
then-
please do keep calling because it is very concerning.
Yeah.
Ellen
Yes.
Clark, 35313 Southeast O'Neill Street, Unit B. I live in Side Meadows. Ridge Street is so packed all the time. The soccer fields are there. And it really doesn't matter which weekend, whether there's an event or not, but the traffic is terrible. Has anybody considered making Ridge a one-way street and Kenzie a one-way the other direction
Mm,
to break up the traffic a bit?
that would be a public works question. And I'll defer over to them. They hear you and they will consider and we don't have we're not going to have a ready answer, but it sounds to me like there needs to be some traffic calming or additional policing, especially on the weekends, on that stretch. So,
The kids are in and out of the cars. They're playing soccer, baseball, football, whatever. They're in and out of their cars and it's a 2-lane street.
mhm.
It gets pretty congested.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, if there are no other further comments under further public comments, yes, I'll take one more.
Virginia Knight at 9329 Hebner Avenue Southeast on the Ridge. That's in the Astor Creek area. Okay, so I'm hearing call the police, and I'm sure they come out and what good is that going to do? You don't see the kids. You can't get a picture of them. They don't have any identification. They're gone.
Okay.
So I don't see why they legally can ride those things the way they do.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Typically, we don't respond to public comment. However, I will say this has been an ongoing topic for the last year and a half or more, 2 years while I've been chair, as well as the council members here. E-bikes are a concern because we used to pedal bikes. Now we've got e-bikes and we've got all kinds of e-bikes. There will be an opportunity to hear from Chief Jerez here in a moment. If you want to stick around, we'll try to get to all that as well. That might be helpful. He's got some information clarification. And you're right, there are ordinances, there are state laws that one of them is recklessness. But here's the challenge is most of what we're hearing is involving teenagers. They're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They don't have driver's license. They aren't licensed on these e-motorcycles are not licensed. They're not registered, so it makes another challenge to it in most cases. And we want to first start with education, and that's why we've done a lot of social media through the city and that. And then it becomes, where do you draw the line on I guess, punishment? Do you take the scooter away? Do you impound it and all that? So those things are being discussed. And then as far as 911, why you call is that we've got a record and then we know kind of where the hot spots are. And then even though our officers may not be able to get to it, there's a record for the police to at least help monitor and be able to do what's appropriate for those kind of situations. The last thing is, we don't want to have a negative impression on young kids. It's just most of them don't understand. We have parents that buy these things, these e-motorcycles that can go up to 60 miles an hour. And it's very different from pedaled bicycles. And so freedom of summer and all that it's a bit of a challenge, and we're trying to figure out where's the right place to land. So with that, we're closing the public comment period. And we've got a couple items that we need to move on. And you're welcome to stay because there might be some good information coming in the next couple minutes. But next of all, I want to approve the minutes dated July 7th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilmember Christensen, seconded by Councilmember Cotton. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll accept the minutes as presented. And next, we'll move on to the Washington Traffic Safety Commission interagency agreement, part of the discussion with Acting Chief Horace. And are you bringing up support?
I am.
All right, awesome.
I'm bringing support today.
You have your people.
I have my people. Mayor Ross, council members, community members. We've had a lot of questions and concerns over traffic safety throughout the city, both at the Ridge, near the high school, on the Parkway, over the last year, the year and a half that I've been here. We've addressed some of it with some temporary fixes to see how things would work, such as the temporary rumble strips that we installed on Park and Meadowbrook area, which helped reduce some of our issues. We get complaints on either through email or people calling it in, both throughout downtown and most recently up around Fairway, Douglas, Ridge, and those areas. What we've done is we've increased our traffic enforcement in those areas to the point where we actually had a resident complain that we were doing too much. And there's never too much in this day and age. So we are going to continue doing that enforcement. One of the things that I'm bringing to y'all in the next council meeting or public safety meeting is to help kind of offset some of our costs. The Washington Safety Traffic Committee has a grant that we can apply for to offset not only some overtime, but some of our regular hours that we dedicate to traffic enforcement, whether it's a click it or ticket, DUI enforcement, or other speed issues throughout the city. So you're going to see that coming. That's why I'm bringing this to y'all just kind of as a discussion piece and letting you know that that's one of the things that we're looking into. Of the other side of that is, and the reason I have Director Hamlin here is kind of some of the ongoing plans that we are working through to kind of continue addressing some of the issues, especially around the high school area, as school's going to start soon again. So there's 3 schools in that immediate area, and traffic increases quite a bit. So I'm going to have him kind of lay out some of his planning. We're still going to do some enforcement out there. We activated the traffic lights for the school zones in that area at the end of the year, which really helped. And we're going to, I think they're off right now. They'll be started up again. And we're looking at what our future options are with grants and things like that to continue increasing those lights throughout areas that they don't have, where there aren't any. So with that, I'll have Director Hamlin talk a little bit about his plans.
Good evening, Council. So with respect to the school safety zones, I think we're going to try a progressive approach. So we have some signage. We can do things to improve the signage to make it more visible, or at least, I guess, more eye-catching. And then we wish to do some things with pavements. So perhaps some progressive traffic calming measures. So rumble strips, I think is an easy first start. It alerts people when there's signage approaching, and it alerts them to the fact that they're approaching a school zone. We think that for most people that works. Some people, very little works, except other, physical features. So I think we'll try that first, and it's a low cost option. It doesn't, and it's not too, I guess, distracting to the driving public. So, that's a good first start. Now, if we need to, we can continue to do more traffic calming measures. And there's a lot of different things that we can do, kind of reduce sight lines, using traffic bump outs and things like that. What it does, it kind of gives you that shy distance. It reduces the shy distance, so it makes drivers a little bit more uncomfortable about speeding, and it just kind of forces them, gives them visual cues to slow down. So, we can kind of move in that direction as needed. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Excellent.
One of the things I would like to add to is we had an incident a few weeks ago up on the ridge. It was actually on Fairway and a few other streets. We got residents that called. I think there were a total of 4 residents that called on a reckless driver. The individual was not from the area. They came up here to pick up some girls. We ended up arresting them for the reckless driving and a bunch of other stuff. So there are things happening. And as y'all stated a little bit ago, we have to know about it. So I appreciate anybody who calls when they see things. If you're sitting outside and you see something, please call. We will respond. And, we're pretty good at catching them when we get the phone call. We don't always, they do, especially if they're on scooters, but motor vehicles are a little harder to get away from us. So, but we are out there. The guys are doing a great job and patrolling those areas. And like I said, we've even had complaints that we're doing too much up there. Well, I'm going to continue to do it until the issue's done. And, we kind of just keep going and work with Public Works to come up with other inventive ideas to help reduce some of our traffic issues.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments from the council members or the mayor? Administration? All right. So that's the first item. The next one is just captivating these days. We've got a lot of comments that I've been getting. So could you bring us up to speed, and for those that are here for the first time, a little bit of insight, the difference between e-bikes and e-motorcycles, and help make some more sense out of these things that we're not all used to.
I've been educating myself on this one quite, frequently. Jimmy, can you go ahead and pull that up for me? So one of the things we've done to help educate our community is we created a separate site on a separate web page on the police, off of the police department's website page. It goes through a lot of what is an e-bike, what's an e-scooter, and then what is an e-motorcycle. And throughout that, it gives you even the RCWs of how these fall, and where, or even our municipal code. So I invite everybody to go to that page and start looking at it. It's kind of lengthy, and Jimmy can kind of scroll through it a little bit, but you'll see that there's a lot of information there and a lot of links. One thing that I will say is e-motorcycles, and these are the ones that you'll see a picture of it here in a minute. It's right there. That is an electric dirt bike, electric motorcycle. If it doesn't have pedals, it's a motorcycle. So anything, these are currently fall under RCW. They are not addressed in our municipal code. In fact, they're under the e-scooter and e-bike ordinance. They're excluded. These fall strictly under the RCW, which you have to be 16 years old to operate it. You have to have a driver's license, and you have to have a motorcycle endorsement. They are motor vehicles, and they have VIN numbers. So what that means is if somebody's operating it and they don't have an ID on them or don't even have a driver's license, it's an arrestable offense because it's what we call a no valid operator license. On top of that, because it's a motor vehicle, it has to have or be equipped with all the lighting that every other vehicle has to have. So headlights, taillights, turn signals, all that stuff has to be registered, has to have a license plate, no different than a gas motorcycle or a gas powered dirt bike. So we have done a few things over the last month. Well, we've done a lot of things over the last several months, but the last month we've taken some different steps. We created a no e-motorcycle sign and posted those along center as kind of a test run. They listed the municipal code and they listed the RCW for operating a motor vehicle on the sidewalk. I have an email here that was dated on the 7th. We installed them the week of the I think we installed them on the 1st or right around the 1st. And the email was talking about how much they had seen a reduction in the activity on center. We are citing to an extent. And when I say citing, it's not like if you're driving your car and I stop you for a stop sign violation or operating on a sidewalk, I hand you a paper ticket and you go to municipal court. Majority of these individuals are minors. And unless they have a driver's license or is older than 16, it goes to the King County Juvenile Court. We've kind of run into some issues with that, being that they don't take traffic infractions the same way that an adult court does. So I'm working with the King County Prosecutor's Office. I've reached out to them and we've been going back and forth, myself and one of the prosecutors up there. And I'm not the only chief that's reached out to them. So they are looking at what their options are. And it could be just a complete deferral or, a deferral program. It could be other options. And I'm still working with them. But in the meantime, we are typing up cases and we are sending those cases forward for them. They requested that so that it also helps them assess what the issues are. Then we are impounding those motorcycles. So what that means is I call a tow company and they come out and get them. We are not taking them into our possession. We're doing it through the legal realms, just like we would a motor vehicle, whether it's a car, pickup, or whatever. So average cost $350 to get it out. We also call the parents, have them come get the kids, or we will communicate with the parents. I have an incident here from the 11th where we had 2 kids doing wheelies around Douglas and the Parkway, made it into the side streets, and the guys stopped them, communicated with them. They impounded the bikes, called the parents. The parents came out and got them, and we forwarding a case on it. This isn't just happening in Snoqualmie, it's happening all over the weekend. During the block party in North Bend, we had 2 gas-powered motorcycles operated by 16-year-olds that collided with a vehicle. Those individuals, the bikes were impounded, and those individuals were cited into municipal court because they were 16 and had driver's license. They just didn't have the endorsements to operate them. So we're taking this very seriously. There's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of RCWs that apply. The one thing that I would like to see, or I'm looking for a little bit of direction from you, is what an ordinance would look like, bringing in, kind of refining it and maybe becoming a little more restrictive on our end if we choose to do so. There's a lot of RCWs that apply to it. Like I said, most of them are listed in here. E-scooters and e-bikes, those are operated by pedals. We have those issues. Obviously, we heard some testimony on some of those issues with the scooters and things like that, but the majority of our problems we see are with these devices here. These are the ones that are hitting 60, 70 miles an hour. They're going up and down the park or through the parks, and we're going to start enforcing even the motor vehicles in the parks, things like that, and impounding. Now that we've done a little bit of research and kind of differentiated between the two. These, I want to make clear, these are not e-bikes. These are motorcycles. What's really hard to determine is, as you can see from that, it doesn't have a make, model, or anything on it. So the officers are having to do a little bit more legwork out on the road. They have to find out what the device is, what model it is. And then we go back to the cars, get on these nifty little computers and start Googling what it is to determine the CCs on it. Then we start making decisions from there because they're not listed. It's not like walking out to that truck, the fire truck out there where it says Ford F-150 on it and we know what it is. So there's differences in wheel sizes and things like that. So one thing we should consider that I need a little bit of direction on is, do we go lower than 750 watts in an ordinance so that we're addressing those that are 250, 500 watts and kind of make them go along the same lines. So there's a lot of things that for future discussions on how restrictive we need to become in an ordinance. But we're getting good results. Today, the guys were out with 4 of them along one of the sidewalks. They were operating on the sidewalk and they did an education piece. We didn't, we are looking at things as to be as, like you said, I don't want everybody getting in trouble for it, because I could take it and I could issue cites and tickets and impound and all that. One thing to remember is if I write a ticket to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, they may not see their driver's license until they're 18 once I send that case up. That's a discretion of DOL. So what we have to look at is how strict do we want to be? And the officers are really good at making discretionary calls on this group needs to be educated. This group isn't, this group's not doing, are doing reckless things, and we need to take it a little further. So the discretion needs to remain there, but at the same time, because I don't want to ultimately jam up good kids for just operating it versus somebody who's doing wheelies in the middle of Douglas in a parkway. That's a little different, a little more serious and things like that.
Okay. Comments and questions? Councilmember Cotton.
Thank you, Chief. I know you've been doing a lot of research on this. And I think one of the topics we've kind of touched on a few times, and I didn't know if there was any more information, and it was actually a point that was brought up this evening as well. We're all interested in educating the youth, and is there any, I know that's a big add-on to ask the police department to do like educational classes, but is there any other types of professional courses like in a form that we could maybe have them, rotate out to, the various cities, and, one weekend they're doing a course in Snoqualmie where residents, hopefully parents would come with their kids, but may or may not. Is there that type of resource available?
Not that I'm aware of. That is something I can bring up to the prosecutor's office as part of their system. One thing to remember is that device, you have to go through driving school and everything else because it's required to have a driver's license.
Right.
So that's kind of where that one falls at the moment. You have to have the license, you have to go through a motorcycle class because you have to have an endorsement. So even if you have a license and you're operating it, but you don't have an endorsement, it's a whole separate enforceable fee, avenue to take. Plus, it allows us to immediately impound the motorcycle. If we were to take it further, for the e-bikes, for the bicycles and the scooters, it's something we could kind of look at and see what, how that would look. Right now, there's nothing that I'm aware of.
We used to have the Tanner Jean Memorial Bike Rodeos that the police would do. And again, that was an unfortunate incident that sparked that something good coming out of it. Is there thoughts that we might ever restart that again? Again, not trying to add more to the plate here, but
there hasn't been any talk lately of it. We've had a lot going on, so but it's something that staff can talk about and continue having those conversations with y'all as well. But right now there's, like I said, even in other cities, and I'll be meeting with some of the chiefs coming up, and I'll start asking them if they have any courses that they're doing, but we're all having the same problem. So my best guess is that there's not anything being out there from other agencies either.
Okay, thank you.
appreciate it.
Councilmember Christensen, we only have a few minutes, but I want to make sure that you get a chance.
In terms of options for enforcement or some laws going forward, I personally would like to see those bikes taken off the road. If folks are being unsafe in the slightest, I'd like to see them impounded. I'd like to see the parents fined, whether it's specifically for the cost of the tow. And I would like to consider an option where they do have to do community service in order to take the bikes back, especially for repeat offenders. It is a huge concern of mine that, not only are the kids putting themselves at risk, but it's the general public as well. And if a driver takes out a kid on a bike like that, it's going to ruin their life too. So I'd like to see aggressive enforcement done on, especially the e-motorcycles. And then going forward to some of the others, I think more if they're being reckless and things like that. And I know that we've talked as well about putting up signs at some of the local parks to make sure that they're not operating their bikes where there's other kids at play who can get hurt too. So I'd like to see that done as well.
And that's part of my talks with the King County Prosecutor's Office of like what I would say punishment would look like, or like community service, things like that. You will see some signs coming up. I believe they're going up this week, if they're not already up. I haven't been to Community Park today, but we are putting some up in the Community Park area that as you go in and things like that. So we're adding to the signs that are on center because they seem to be working. And we can make adjustments to those signs as we go.
Yeah. And I do, again, I appreciate everything that the city is doing to address this. I know that you're doing a ton as well. And I do really appreciate that. And for me, there is a distinction between like the e-motorcycles and e-bicycles, right? Where people are actually pedaling and doing things, and it's good to be out and healthy on your bike and all of that. It's just, I haven't seen, and to be fair, I have seen some of the e-motorcycles driven in a way that was not negligent, but where I'm seeing it most frequently, they're just being super unsafe. And again, I've called the police and I've talked to the kids when they've been parked and tried to approach it as like, everyone is worried about you. Like, please be safe. Because it's not just you, it's everybody else too. But especially for like repeat offenders, they just don't seem to be getting the message any other way. And I know that you guys are working on it, but
And unfortunately, that's what it's come to, and that's why we're impounding them. And all of that is taken care of but that is between the parents and the tow companies when we impound. So we just do the paperwork.
Mhm.
After that, it's on them, and then we file our cases based on whatever the violation was we saw, no different than if it was a traffic ticket. We just have to do a little bit more work to get that done.
Yeah.
For juveniles.
because at this point, everybody locally should understand and know that those are illegal. So if you're still continuing to buy them for your kids, you're making that choice. So I don't have a whole lot of sympathy at that point.
Right. Okay, well, thank you much, Chief. I did get permission from Chief Bailey because we have some very important things on the fire department as well, but we are at the end of the 50 minutes, 5:50. And so with that, may I call for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by council members Christensen and Cotton. No objection. We stand adjourned at 5:52. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And please be in contact with us if you have other concerns. But in the meantime, your comments are well taken. Thank you. Good evening.